Hey son, just wanted to let you know, we sold the bungalow. Got a killer deal. You'll understand. That voicemail hit harder than a punch. I'd paid the property taxes for over a decade. That beachfront land was supposed to be my future. Instead, my parents sold it to my cousin for pennies, so he could build a juice bar. A freaking juice bar. My name's Daxon. I'm 34, live in Pine Creek, Nevada, and I manage logistics for offshore oil rigs. It's the kind of job where your hands go numb, your hearing fades, and you develop a love-hate relationship with risk. But it pays. And for over a decade, every hard-earned cent went toward one thing: the taxes on my parents' coastal property. Not just any property. It was a 2-acre slice of heaven on the California coast, tucked between Monterey pines and wild cliffs, with a small, weathered bungalow perched 40 feet from the waterline. You could hear the waves crash from the porch. I spent childhood summers there, skipping stones and dreaming about turning that little shack into a home of my own. On my 23rd birthday, Dad poured me a scotch, clapped me on the back, and said, "Someday it's yours. Start paying the taxes now, and we'll get the deed in your name once the paperwork's cleared." I believed him. Every April, I wired thousands to cover the property tax bill. I never missed a payment. I couldn't afford a vacation or a down payment on anything else. But that place, that bungalow, was going to be mine. Or so I thought. Fast forward to 6 months ago. I was sitting on my porch after a 14-hour shift, watching the sunset when my phone buzzed. Voicemail. Dad's. Voice, casual and annoyingly upbeat. "Hey Dax, just a heads up, we sold the place. Your cousin needed a fresh start after his divorce, so we let him have it. Got a good deal. Hope you understand. Love you, kid." I dropped the phone. I played it again, thinking I misheard. Sold the place? To Chryson, my deadbeat cousin who couldn't hold a job longer than a TikTok loop? I called my dad. No answer. I texted my mom. "Tell me this is a joke." She replied an hour later. "Not a joke. Crayson's having a hard time. He's family. We did what was best." I drove over that night. When Mom opened the door, she was wearing a robe and sipping white wine like nothing happened. "You sold the bungalow to Crayson without even asking me?" Dad walked in, rubbing his face like I'd woken him up from a nap. "Not detonated my life. Son, you never technically owned it. Technically, we still had our names on the deed. You were just helping." Helping? Helping? I'd poured over $30,000 into that land over the years. I'd hired a contractor to survey the soil. I even sketched renovation plans during my downtime offshore. "You said it'd be mine." Mom shrugged. "Kristen really needs it. His ex took everything. You're doing great. You can buy something else." Something else? They gave away my dream and called it charity. I walked out of that house shaking, not crying, not yelling, just cold, like someone flipped the breaker on my soul. That night, I opened my safe. Inside was the deed to the access road, the only legal way to get to that coastal property. I'd quietly bought it 3 years ago, just in case they pulled something like this. Turns out I was smarter than I thought, because if Chryson wanted to turn my bungalow into a beachfront smoothie shack, he'd have to go through my road to do it. Saturday hit like a slap. The sky was annoyingly perfect, cloudless blue, a breeze so soft it felt scripted. My mom called it ideal barbecue weather. I called it Judgment Day. I pulled up to their beachside house with a bowl of store-bought potato salad and a smirk sharp enough to slice glass. Everyone was already there. Lawn chairs spread out across the yard like a Norman Rockwell painting with a liquor problem, and there he was. Chryson, wearing boat shoes and a pastel button-down like some freshly divorced cult leader. He was standing by the grill, flipping burgers like he hadn't just stolen the only thing I ever wanted. "Dax!" he bellowed, arms open like he was greeting a war hero. "Chryson," I said, handing off the salad and resisting every urge to dump it on his Sperry's. "I'm so glad you're here, man. Wanted to show you the plans. Whisper Shore. That's what I'm calling it. Luxury smoothies, private yoga. You should see the logo." "You mean the logo for the place I paid taxes on for 11 years? He blinked, then grinned like I'd made a dad joke. "Come on, man. Let's not make this weird. It's family, right?" "Right," I said, grabbing a beer from the cooler. "Family?" I scanned the yard. Half the guests were distant cousins. The other half were freeloading neighbors who heard there'd be shrimp skewers. My dad sat at the patio table laughing at something that definitely wasn't funny. Mom floated around like Martha Stewart, showing off Christen's architectural sketches to anyone who stood still long enough. Thinking of converting the old bungalow into a juice bar, Kristen said proudly. Then a row of glamping domes right, up the ridge. Views of the ocean, but private, exclusive. Ambitious, I said, sipping my beer. How are you accessing the land? He waved vaguely toward the dirt trail leading past the back fence. That road's been there forever. Yeah, I said slowly. But I own it. He laughed again. Louder this time, like it would change what I said. No. The access. Road? That's part of the land, right? I pulled out my phone, opened the deed document, and held it up. Purchased it 3 years ago. Legally recorded. I own the entire stretch from the highway to your little dream shack. His smile flickered. You're bluffing. Try to drive anything through it without my permission. We'll see. Mom appeared beside us holding a tray of lemonade like this was still a Disney movie. Dax, be nice. This is a celebration. Krisen's launching his next chapter. Oh, I'm celebrating, I said with a smile. Just maybe not the way you think. Krisen looked like he was trying to swallow a cactus. Wait, so you're saying I can't get to the property? Like legally? Exactly, I said. Without my written easement, it's a postcard with no driveway. He set down the spatula. The grill sizzled unattended. You're doing this to spite me, he hissed. I'm doing this because Justice wears steel-toed boots and sometimes files property deeds. Aunt Mara leaned over. Is everything okay? Oh, it's fine, Mom said too quickly. Just a little family disagreement. Behind her, my sister Vienna gave me a knowing smirk and mouthed, Burn it all down. The party limped on. Guests avoided eye contact. Krisen stormed off to the garage. Mom looked ready to cry over the shrimp platter. Dad just drank. As I left, Mom cornered me near the driveway. Why are you being so cruel? We just wanted to help your cousin. No, you wanted to erase me and call it generosity. You should have just asked me for a match and saved time. I got in my truck and left, them standing in the smoke of their own wreckage. As soon as I got home, I forwarded the deed to my lawyer, Bailey. Her reply? Showtime. Bailey didn't waste time. By Monday morning, my phone buzzed with a PDF titled Formal Notice of Access Restriction and Cease and Desist Order. It looked so crisp, so lawyerly, it practically glowed with vengeance. I'd never loved Helvetica. So much in my life. She sent it via certified mail, then emailed it to Krisen, then texted it to my mom just to be thorough. By noon, my phone exploded. Krisen called first. I let it ring. Then came Mom's barrage of messages. What are you doing? This is not how families treat each other. You're ruining everything. Dad's was simpler. We need to talk. I ignored them all. I was at work, loading safety gear onto a rig trailer, and unlike them, I actually earned my life. Bailey. Texted around 3 p.m. He opened it. Certified receipt confirmed. And now, the real fun begins. By 6 p.m., my cousin had updated his social media bio to remove Founder Whisper Shore Resort. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Immeasurably. But that was just the spark. The fire came fast. Tuesday morning, my boss flagged me down with raised eyebrows. Your cousin's on the news. What? I rushed to the break room TV just in time to see Krisen, standing in front of the bungalow, my bungalow, talking to a local reporter. Behind him, the Pacific waves rolled like they didn't give a damn. We've hit a temporary snag, he was saying, sweating under that same smug pastel button-down. But we're working through some legal misunderstandings. It's all family business, just a minor paperwork issue. The reporter smiled like she smelled blood, and oh, there would be blood. That night, I drove past the property. Kristen's rusted-out pickup was parked half on the access road, half on a sand dune. There were construction flags stuck in the ground. And a sign. Coming soon, Whisper Shore. Luxury eco experience. I took a picture. Then I called Bailey. You're gonna want to see this, I said. She chuckled. He's already breaking the cease and desist. Should I call the sheriff? Let him dig the hole first, she said. Then we'll bury him in it. Legally, of course. By Thursday, the ceasefire had officially combusted. Krisen started clearing brush along the path, trying to widen the trail. A neighbor reported the noise. Someone else caught drone footage of him hammering a fence post into my road. Bailey filed the injunction that afternoon. Friday morning, a sheriff's deputy served him the court order in front of my parents' house. Word got around. Vienna texted, I heard Mom screamed at the deputy like it was his fault. You okay? Better than ever, I replied. But better didn't mean easy. That night I got a voicemail from my dad. Son, look, we messed up. We thought you'd be okay. You always are. Can't we talk this out? Before lawyers ruin what's left of us? I didn't reply. What was left to ruin? 11 years of loyalty flushed for a juicer stand and a sob story? Saturday brought another twist. Bailey called me early. You're gonna love this. What? Now? Turns out your cousin filed for a small business loan and listed your access road as part of his collateral. I blinked. Isn't that fraud? Oh, it absolutely is. She emailed me a copy of the application. There it was, in plain Times New Roman, under assets, private access road, deed pending. Pending, my ass. I want to press charges, I said. Bailey's voice sharpened. Then let's move. I'll file Monday, but I'd recommend one final move first. Offer them a way out. Why? I asked. They don't deserve it. Because it'll make you look like the reasonable party in court. And they're already flailing. Fine. One last rope. I texted my mother. Meeting. My house. Sunday, 5 p.m. Bring Dad and Chris in. One chance to fix this. No response. But they showed up. Dad was stiff. Mom looked like she hadn't slept. And Chryson, well, he looked like a raccoon someone had pulled out of a trash can mid-heist. I didn't offer coffee. We sat around my kitchen table, the mood thick as wet cement. Before we begin, I said, know this. I have every receipt, every tax document, every notarized conversation. I own the access road. I have security footage of Chrisen trespassing, drone shots of unauthorized construction, and proof of fraud on a federal loan application. Mom's lip quivered. You're not serious. I'm surgical. Dad sighed. What do you want? I leaned forward. You're going to transfer the land back to me, every inch. I'll pay you the exact amount you sold it for. Mom winced. That was only $5,000. I smiled. Then it's a fair deal, right? And the road? Chrisen asked, voice hoarse. You? Don't touch it. You don't set foot on it. You never speak Whispershore out loud again. This is extortion, he snapped. No! Bailey's voice came through my laptop speaker. This is litigation avoidance. They all jumped. Hi, she said. I've been listening in. Consent laws are wonderful when you warn people ahead of time. Dad stared at the floor. Mom started crying. Chrisen stood up, fists clenched. You've ruined me, Dax. You know that? I was going to build something real. I stood too. So was I. Until you stole it. Monday morning, Bailey filed everything. Fraud, trespassing, unlawful use of private property, false asset declaration on a federal loan. By noon, she'd submitted over 80 pages of documentation. By Tuesday, the bank called Chrisen. By Wednesday, Whispershore was dead. And by Thursday, I learned just how deep the betrayal went. It started with a knock. I opened the door to find Vienna, my sister, holding a manila folder and looking like she hadn't slept in 3 days. You need to see. This, she said, brushing past me. She dumped the folder on my dining table. Out slid bank statements, emails, notarized loan docs, and, God help me, a handwritten promissory note from my mother. What is this? I asked, even though I already knew. Vienna sat down hard. Chrisen didn't buy the bungalow with his money. He used theirs, a secret loan, 90 grand. Mom took a second mortgage on the house. I stared at her. What? She believed he'd pay her back double once the resort made a profit. He promised her beachfront glory and early retirement. I picked up the note, scanned my mom's flowery cursive. This is a family investment. We believe in your vision. A rage I didn't even know I had bloomed behind my eyes. She leveraged their home, I whispered. Vienna nodded. For a con artist who can't finish a sentence without saying passive income. I stepped back, pressing my fingers into my temples. And they gave him my land. She hesitated. Not just that. My head snapped up. He also listed your access road in the loan docs, said it was family-owned and accessible. I laughed, loud, ugly. He committed bank fraud with my driveway. Yep. We sat there in silence while the Pacific winds howled outside. Eventually, I opened my laptop and forwarded the documents to Bailey. Her reply came 10 minutes later. Oh, we're not just playing checkers anymore. This is chess, and I brought a flamethrower. By the weekend, Bailey had compiled a legal packet so thick it needed its own folder tab. The fraud alone could tank Chrysen's credit for life. But it was the mortgage that broke something in me. Because they didn't just give away my future, they risked their own for him. That night, I walked the access road. The gravel crunched under my boots like the universe applauding each step. Halfway down, I saw it. A stake driven into the dirt, fresh, bright red plastic tag fluttering in the wind. Another construction marker. He hadn't stopped. I yanked it out of the ground and snapped it in two. The next morning, Bailey filed an emergency injunction and flagged the bank with a formal fraud alert. At noon, my parents showed up at my house. No call. No warning. Just bam! Doorbell, then tears. Mom rushed in first, eyes red, voice high and cracked. "You're ruining us, Daxon." Dad followed, slower, quiet. "You sent the bank after us. After your mother. They called today. Said the loan was frozen." I folded my arms. "That's what happens when you back a liar with someone else's property." "We didn't know," she shouted. "We thought it would work." "You thought I'd just take it," I snapped. "Like always." Dad finally spoke. He told us you wouldn't care, that you had no emotional attachment to the bungalow. 11 years of tax payments say otherwise, I said. "You believed the guy who once sold your lawnmower for gas money." Mom sobbed. "He's family." "Stop saying that like it's a spell," I said. "It's not magic. It's just an excuse." She collapsed into a kitchen chair. "The house. We're going to lose it." I leaned across the counter, leveled my voice. "Then he can fix it, not me." "You're so cold now," she whispered. "No," I said. "I'm finally at room temperature." They left with shoulders hunched and futures cracked. But the worst wasn't over. Not yet. "Monday morning," Bailey called. "You sitting down?" "Never good when you start like that. The local paper is running a story. Small business fraud, loan misrepresentation, your cousin's about to be front page." She paused. "And your parents are being named as co-signers." My stomach dropped. "What?" "Because the house was collateral," she said. "They're legally entangled. I'm sorry." A dull silence buzzed in my ears. Then, another call. Vienna again. "Don't freak out," she said. "But Chryson's on Facebook, again. He's posted some, let's call it colorful commentary." I opened the app. There it was, a public post with over 90 comments. "Some people in this family would rather destroy lives than share. You know who you are. Hope you sleep well while your parents lose their home." He'd tagged me. I clicked Save Post and sent it to Bailey. Her response was immediate, libelous, documented, and weaponizable. But even that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came Thursday evening when Aunt Leslie, his mom, called me from an unknown number. "Daxon, sweetheart, can we meet?" "Please, it's urgent." I agreed. We met at the diner off Highway 14, the one with the flickering sign and the best pie in town. She looked tired, ashamed. "Thank you for coming," she said. I nodded. "Make it quick." She slid a photo across the table. It was Chrisen, at a casino, in Tahoe. Just 3 months ago, holding a check, grinning wide. "That was his real investment," she said quietly. "He didn't spend the loan on development. He blew it gambling." Everything inside me went still. I picked up the photo. "How long have you known?" "I just found it. In his trash. After he moved back into my guest room." "He's back with you?" She nodded. "And the stories he's telling, that you stole the road out of spite, that you hacked the county records, that you're obsessed with revenge." I barked a laugh. "Maybe I am." She leaned in. "But I believe you." "I've seen him lie, manipulate, ruin, and I'm done protecting him." I put the photo in my coat pocket. "Thank you." She touched my arm gently. "Don't let them drag you down. You've already climbed too far." As I left the diner, I called Bailey. "I want everything. Full criminal charges, all of it." Her voice was calm, cold, focused. "Then let's crush him." The morning Bailey filed the charges, I felt something I hadn't in months. Clarity. 3 charges. 1 civil suit, 1 federal fraud complaint. Everything tight, documented, and razor-edged. She called it a full-spectrum detonation. I just called it finally holding them accountable. By noon, Christian's face was plastered on our local news homepage, under the headline, "Developer Accused of Fraud, Property Dispute Goes Nuclear in Coastal Town." It should have been enough. But the universe had more surprises locked and loaded. At 2:13 p.m., I got a call from an unknown number. I let it ring. They left a voicemail. "Mr. Claymore, this is Special Agent Denley with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. We'd like to speak with you about recent events involving the Whisper Shore loan application and potential misuse of federal funds." HUD. This just went federal. I called Bailey. I know, she said before I could speak. They reached out to me too. You're not in trouble. They want you to testify. And we're going to say yes. I sat back, phone clutched to my chest, like it might start screaming. What happens now? Now, she said, we let the feds run the ball, and we prepare for the backlash. Backlash came within hours. Mom called. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She begged, please, Daxon, don't let them take your cousin to jail. He's not a criminal. He lied on federal documents. He committed fraud. He destroyed your retirement. He's family. There's that word again, I said flatly. Dad called later. He was quieter. Angrier. You don't see what this is doing, not just to him, to us. Your mother's on blood pressure meds now. Your aunt's talking about selling her house. Michaela refuses to visit. You've split this family in half. No, I said. The lies did that. I just turned on the lights. That night, I got a text from Kristen. Hope you're proud. You destroyed your own bloodline over some gravel and wood. I almost deleted it, but then I noticed something. The number wasn't his. It was local. I traced it through a public registry. It belonged to Lake Point Realty LLC, the same firm that had quietly purchased 3 lots around the original bungalow, just days before the sale to Kristen went through. I froze. Something wasn't adding up. I called Vienna. Did Mom ever mention someone named Patricia Greer? There was a long pause. Wait, that was her college friend, real estate broker, used to visit during summer. Why? Because her company bought the neighboring plots before Kryson even knew about the land. You think it was a setup? I think someone knew what was coming and was waiting to pounce. I hung up and dove into public land records. In less than an hour, I found it, Patricia Greer. 3 lots, 2 miles of shoreline, purchased through holding companies within days of each other, all tied to a shell LLC backed by a trust. The trust? Greer Family Holdings. I sat back, stunned. My parents hadn't just sold the bungalow to Kryson to help family. They sold it knowing it would trigger a development project. They were likely promised a cut, a silent partnership. That's why they were so defensive. Why they pushed so hard. Why they ignored the road deed, the taxes, the promises. They weren't just stupid. They were complicit. I sent everything to Bailey. 10 minutes later, she called. Oh, this is deep, she whispered. If this is true, we're not just dealing with fraud. This could be a conspiracy. You up for this, Daxon? I didn't hesitate. Let's tear it down. 2 weeks later, we were in court. Federal, not local, not civil. The real deal. Long halls, stern faces, a judge who didn't blink. Kristen stood in a wrinkled suit next to a defense attorney who looked like he charged by the sigh. My parents sat behind him. Mom had her Sunday repentance face on. Dad looked like he was chewing gravel. Bailey was in full predator mode, crisp blazer, no mercy. The charges? Fraud, misrepresentation, attempted development without proper permits, misuse of federal funds. I testified second. When I took the stand and swore the oath, something inside me clicked. I wasn't the punching bag anymore. I was the reckoning. I laid it all out. The 11 years of tax payments, the access road purchase, the forged claims on federal forms, the Facebook posts, the drone footage. Bailey pulled out the coup de grace. The land sale timeline cross-referenced with Patricia Greer's LLC acquisitions. The courtroom shifted. The judge raised his eyebrows for the first time all day. Then Bailey leaned in for the kill. Mr. Claymore, in your opinion, was this a misunderstanding, or was it coordinated? It was a con, I said, packaged as a family favor, delivered with a smile. Kryson's lawyer objected. Overruled. Kristen wouldn't meet my eyes. The Greer connection cracked open everything. Turns out, Patricia had been quietly assembling land for a beachfront resort. She needed my family's land, but the direct sale from them would have raised flags, so she used Kristen, and they went along with it. The feds launched a second investigation that same week into Greer Holdings. Suddenly, I wasn't just a whistleblower, I was a key witness in a federal conspiracy case. A week later, the judge handed down the ruling. Kristen, guilty. Sentenced to 3 years, suspended with mandatory restitution and probation. Banned from any real estate dealings for 5 years. But the twist? The court ordered a forensic audit of my parents' finances. Turns out Patricia had cut them a check, $45,000, disguised as a consulting fee. And that's when the family exploded. Vienna told me first. Mom confessed. Dad didn't know. She took the money to cover Chryson's debts, told Patricia she'd smooth over the land transfer. She played both sides. I was stunned. Vienna was shaking. She sold your future and lied to both you and Dad. A week later, he filed for divorce. Then he showed up at my house. I didn't even ask why. I just opened the door. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a cashier's check for $3,000. This won't fix anything, he said. But it's the first year of taxes you paid. The one we never thanked you for. I stared at him. He nodded toward the horizon. You still building out there? Cabins framed. Porch is next. Mind if I help? I handed him a hammer the next morning. We didn't speak much. We didn't need to. Meanwhile, Bailey filed the paperwork to restore the land title fully, in my name. Whisper Shore was formally dissolved. Greer was indicted. Then came the letter, certified mail, embossed seal, Greer Holdings ver. Daxon Claymore. They were suing me for malicious interference with business interests. Bailey laughed for a full minute. Let them try. Discovery is going to be a bloodbath, but I had one last play. I'd been approached by a mid-sized developer 2 months ago. They saw the news, the beach, the access road I owned, and made an offer. 7 figures. But I said no. Instead, I sold a license, not the land. A 5-year limited-use easement. For guided nature tours only. No development, no cabins, no smoothie bars, just walking trails. And guess who I licensed it to? Vienna. She quit her tech job, moved back home, and turned the land into Coastal Eco Preserve, a place for kids to learn. About marine biology, for schools to visit, for healing. And that's the twist. The land they tried to turn into a cash grab became a sanctuary. Mom moved to Florida. Last I heard, she was reinventing herself. Kristen left the state. Dad lives inland now. Still texts me sunrise photos sometimes. The cabin? Finished. 1 bedroom, wrap-around porch, the kind of quiet that lets you hear your own breath. I named the access road Karma Trail. Because some roads aren't just gravel and dirt, they're justice, and I own every inch. And here it is, the finale of today's story. Did everything turn out as you imagined, or did it end unexpectedly? I'd love to hear what you think. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and let's dive into the discussion together. If this story kept you in suspense, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? This is your chance to join an incredible community where exciting new stories unfold every day. Click the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date. Thanks for your attention and see you on your new adventures.